Good day, Earth viewers. I'm Omar from O.D.A. TV. Join me as I give you today's top news. Thank you.
What would you like to hear from President Trump tomorrow at his State of the Union address?
I want him to stay on our side.
Do you think President Trump would like to see someone else in your job?
I don't know. He didn't tell me.
How is the communication now between the two of you? Obviously, it's not a secret that there have been challenges to that relationship in the past. Have you found an effective way to navigate that relationship?
I think that we had good consultations last time in December. I think so. We have good communication between our group and American group, negotiators, technical groups. We have each day communications with them by our team, with them. So I think this is good. From this point of view, I think that President Trump and his team, they want to end this war, really.
This is President Volodymyr Zelensky before the war started in Ukraine. And here he is 4 years later. Even his wife Olena tells us that looking at him, she sometimes feels like the war has gone on for a lot longer. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, many thought that Kyiv would fall within days. There were rumors that Zelensky had fled the country. But instead, he walked outside into the streets of Kyiv and recorded a short video message on his phone. We are here. Behind that message of courage was a real danger. In those early days, Kyiv was infiltrated with Russian agents, and their orders were clear: eliminate Zelensky. His removal was a key part of Moscow's plan: take over the capital, install new leadership, end it fast. But that didn't happen. Instead, this conflict has turned into something far slower and more punishing. Russian missiles have decimated Ukrainian cities, and the fighting in the east has become a slow, grinding war. Politically, the last 4 years have been a roller coaster for Zelensky. He had a very public falling out with his former commander-in-chief, General Zaluzhny, who is now seen as one of his biggest political rivals. And last year, he lost his right-hand man, Andriy Yermak, who was forced to resign because of a corruption scandal.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you...
Since that shouty meeting in the Oval Office, Zelensky worked hard to repair his relationship with US President Donald Trump. Ukraine is struggling on the front line, and the peace talks are not going anywhere. And even among the 60% of Ukrainians who say they trust Zelensky, only about half think that he should run for a second term. But those around him tell us Zelensky is a man who can roll with the punches. And defying expectations has become the hallmark of Ukraine and its president. So just like his country, Zelensky is battered, but still standing.
I'd like President Trump to speak about the state of our democracy, the economy,
to address the healthcare problem,
crime and safety,
the cost of living, the cost of groceries, the cost of gas,
immigration,
the Epstein files,
the economy and cost of living,
about Social Security and how it can be fixed.
Most people are losing things like SNAP, WIC, things of that nature, and they can't even afford to live, yet buy food, but yet we're going to be getting taxed more.
It is so difficult at this time to provide gas, food, clothing, houses. Everything is so expensive. and our wages haven't changed.
I would like Trump to speak on immigration, being the fact that there has been a lot of mass deportations lately, and there has been a lot of incidents going on about how ICE is handling them.
I'm struggling in ways I never expected at 75 years old. Everything has become so expensive. I have very little left for food or basic household items.
The former UK ambassador to the US, Lord Peter Mandelson, was arrested earlier today on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This comes just days after Prince Andrew was arrested on the same charge. Mandelson is accused of passing market-sensitive information to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while he was business secretary in the UK government. Mandelson has not publicly commented on these allegations and previously apologized for his association with Epstein.
All we know is that there's been quite substantial searches through Mandelson's homes, one in London, one in Wiltshire, so some sort of evidence may well have come out of that. We've also seen the whole of Westminster really engulfed by this story, so lots of people are talking now, and he had lots of enemies, he had lots of allies, he was one of the most well-connected people in Westminster, having started off very senior in the Labour Party back in the 1980s and working very closely with Blair, being part of that very successful government. But he was, of course, fired when he was US ambassador because it became very aware, we all became very aware that he had a much deeper relationship with Epstein than any of us realised. So the period we're talking about is particularly sensitive because it was after the financial crash of 2008. Europe was scrambling to try to sort its financial system out, and there were lots of different conversations going on around how they do that. Very sensitive because it was market-sensitive information. So the initial investigation, at least, was looking into whether or not he was sharing very sensitive European market information, which should have remained secret, passing it on to Epstein.
I knew right then my brother was gone. And I fell to the floor. She wasn't crying like I was. She wasn't hysterical. Just stood there and shook her head no at me.
It was an emotional start to the murder trial of Corey Richens, a 35-year-old Utah mother accused of poisoning her husband, Eric Richens. She later wrote a children's book about dealing with grief.
I had just lost one of the most important people in my whole entire life. And she was planning on selling the house that he had just been wheeled out of, closing on a multi-million-dollar mansion. I could not wrap my head around it.
Eric Richens' sister, Katie, testifying on the first day of the trial that Corey said she decided to sell the family's home the same day Katie's brother was found dead. Prosecutors allege Corey killed Eric with a fatal dose of fentanyl in March of 2022 and tried to poison him weeks earlier on Valentine's Day.
I just came in the bed, in our bed, and I turned over, and he's just cold. He's just cold. Who's cold? My husband.
Corey's defense attorney playing the 911 call she made the day of her husband's death.
It's exactly what she told that 911 operator that you just heard and you're going to hear over and over in trial. I don't know what happened. Now you're going to hear that Eric Richens' family simply could not accept that. They needed someone or something to blame for losing someone they loved that wasn't Eric himself. And that's totally understandable.
Richens has pleaded not guilty to counts of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. If convicted of the most serious charge, she could face up to life in prison.
It was honestly the most traumatic experience of my life that I never want to experience that ever again, especially with her, because in that moment, all I wanted to do was obviously just run and hide. But it's my grandma. She's 84 years old. She can't move fast. And not just that, she still hadn't even processed what was happening because she can't hear. All she can tell was that, I'm telling her to get on the floor. All I saw was people running for their lives, screaming, ducking, hiding behind counters. So in that moment, everything was just in panic mode. I decided to record myself because I wanted to have something to send to my family in case something horrible was happening. It's the worst feeling because I never thought I was going to be sending a message to my husband where I'm just telling him, hug the girls for me, tell them I love them. It's a message that you never want to send, but I just kept praying, like, please just take me home to my babies. By the grace of God, we got on a plane and we landed safely. Even just the moments of being on that plane felt like eternity. What's happening in Mexico, it's so sad and it hurts me. I still have, like I said, my family, my grandma's still living there, and my heart hurts for all the people still being trapped in their homes.
There's been a major shift in Mexico's cartel landscape, and it's why I'm heading to Guadalajara. With the death of El Mencho, or Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the longtime leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations, has now just lost its central figure. CJ&G has been designated by the U.S. government as a major transnational criminal organization and a primary driver of fentanyl and meth trafficking into the U.S. This is a cartel that built its reputation for rapid expansion, militarized tactics, and really tight operational control under El Mencho. So what happens now? Well, the cartel isn't just one man. U.S. intelligence assessments have long described it as a network structure with regional commanders and allied cells. That means operations don't stop overnight, but leadership transitions, they can trigger internal competition or fragmentation. At the same time, you've got rival groups that are watching all of this really closely. The Sinaloa cartel, itself fractured into factions after years of arrests and leadership disruption, could attempt to expand into CJ&G territory. And you've got smaller regional groups that might also test the balance of power here. And this doesn't stop at Mexico's borders. CJ&G and Sinaloa both maintain distribution partnerships in the US, Central America, parts of Europe, and Asia. Any instability at the top can disrupt supply chains or intensify competition for those trafficking routes. So this is a moment that's not just about one cartel leader. It's about whether Mexico's criminal ecosystem consolidates or further fractures. I'm heading to see what that looks like on the ground and what it means for security on both sides of the border.
Actually getting more rife, trolling and bullying online, and I think it's like people are out for blood. It is a lot to deal with, but I think surrounding yourself with your tribe, people that believe in you, see your vision, get you, understand you, also just giving yourself breaks from social media, putting the phone down. It can be so intense and scary, but ultimately just believe in yourself and know who you are and go for it.
And it's interesting, isn't it? We talk about, young women going into the music industry. What about young women just going to school every day and going, being in a class full of people, some of whom are kind, some of whom aren't, measuring themselves against their peers physically and emotionally. Do you think maybe it's time we didn't let younger children, maybe under 16s, have social media? Should it be banned for under 16s?
I would say yes. I think it should be banned. I think, because I've really seen the toxicity of it as well, and it is hardcore on there. And people are hiding behind a screen as well, so they can essentially just say anything.
Engine trouble on a Delta flight sparked a grass fire right next to the runway. Air traffic control can be heard checking in with the crew moments after takeoff.
Delta 1067, everything okay? I saw a pretty large flame on takeoff.
Kind of emergency. We lost left engine straight out here for Delta 1067. This fire, is it related to the runway? Is it what just happened with our airplane, or is it something different?
It's yours. Unfortunately, when the engine blew, it set the whole grass on the left side of the airport on fire.
Passengers on board said they heard a loud boom during takeoff, and a pilot came on to let them know that the engine had been blown, but they were going to be fine. The plane had over 180 people on board, including the pilots and flight attendants. No injuries have been reported. In a statement, Delta said, quote, Delta Flight 1067 from Savannah to Atlanta returned to the airport soon after takeoff Sunday evening, following a mechanical issue with the aircraft's left engine.
I don't know if you can hear, it's almost deafening now. Everywhere you go in Kiev, the sound of generators. I can honestly say that I have never seen morale as low here in Ukraine during the 4 years since the Russian invasion as it is right now. Ukrainians are experiencing profound resilience fatigue. They are so over being resilient. That is what I am hearing again and again in conversations with different people across the country. Obviously, it has been a brutal winter, the coldest in recent memory. Russia has been bombarding the energy infrastructure. There have been constant power outages, heating outages. We spent the day with a young single mother, Veronika. She has a 3-year-old, beautiful little girl, Masha. She is often walking up and down 10 flights of stairs to get in and out of her apartment. She hasn't had a hot shower since last year. I met another woman, Svetlana, who literally poured her heart and soul into building this beautiful business, a space where mothers could come and have a coffee and get their nails done, and their kids could play safe, away from the grind of this endless war. And just a couple of weeks ago, she was forced to close the business. She simply could not keep it going because the generator broke, and she is also broke and could not keep pouring money into her dream. And these may not be life or death situations, obviously, but after 4 years of this endless grind, it really, really takes a toll on people. And, you know, they have these tents around the city, hundreds of them, where people can go inside, they can get warm, they can charge their electronics, and they call them invincibility points. But I can tell you from spending time here on the ground that there are very few people who feel invincible.
A fresh wave of anti-government protests erupted across Iranian universities over the weekend. So why does this matter? Well, it's telling of internal pressures within Iran that people are still protesting even after such a violent crackdown on dissent the last time round, where thousands of people were killed, thousands more were arrested. These demonstrations are happening at the same time as ceremonies that are traditionally held after 40 days to mourn those killed by security forces during last month's anti-government demonstrations. Those were initially sparked over the state of the economy and living conditions. In this video, protesters are calling for the pre-revolution monarchy. At one university in Tehran, we can see a clash between protesters and government-affiliated students, though it's unclear if they were demonstrating against the government. As Iranians again take to the streets, this pressure continues to grow around the Iranian government, with the US building up this massive military presence in the Middle East and Donald Trump weighing up the possibility of an attack on Iran.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.